Welcome into the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined in by the head coach of the Anderson Bulldogs, Eddie Bullock. And Coach, you ended off the year with a good test in Fort Payne. Fell just a little bit short, 27-26, the final score from Lott Mosby Memorial Stadium. But to me, it seemed like this was a good test right before the playoffs.
Well, you know, Fort Payne is a ranked team and a 6A team, and we were just looking forward to trying to get a good measure of how we wanted to go into the playoffs. And, you know, we came up just a little bit short, but, you know, it gave us an idea of the things that we need to work on.
You'll see in the highlights, but the defense really seemed to have a great performance on Friday night.
Well, it was a tale of two halves. We started off in the first half, we kind of had some misalignments, and we went in at halftime and we talked about it, made some adjustments, and just got the alignments right on the formations. And we turned back into that defense that played a week ago against a great Alexandria team.
You guys, as of right now, seem to be in a position where you're playing really good ball towards the end of the season and as you go into the playoffs. And I know that you have Russellville coming up in the first round on Friday night, but talk about just the way you see this team overall progressing week to week.
Well, you want to be playing great at the right time, and the right time is right when you get ready to enter the playoffs. And you know, we putting some things together defensively, and of course over the last 5 or 6 games, the defense we've been playing pretty solid. We make a few mistakes, but you want all three phases: your offense, your defense, and your special teams clicking at the same time. And you know, it's just great for us to be putting it all together right here at the end, because you know the last 5 weeks of the season is what really counts.
Absolutely. Friday night was senior night over at Lott Mosby Memorial. You guys have a pretty good senior class that has done a lot for the program. They've got a lot of wins under their belt, and now they're going to the playoffs.
Well, we got a great class of seniors there. We, you know, gonna miss those guys. One of the hardest working group of seniors that we had, and you know, we pretty much started all the seniors out there. So we got a great class out there.
Absolutely, and they're now going to the playoffs against Russellville, and it's going to be a long road trip up there.
Right.
And we'll talk about all the stuff that comes with the playoffs and going on the road and the atmosphere, and we'll talk about that in our final segment. But first, before we get to the highlights, talk about the kind of team Fort Payne had, and I know you won't play them in the playoffs. They're chasing a different championship, but the kind of team that you think they could put on the field coming up in the 6A playoffs.
Well, Fort Payne, similar to Alexandria's team, you know, they have a big line, a very aggressive line, and they have a couple of running backs that are just outstanding backs. Mm-hmm. And of course, the quarterback is a senior, and he's a smart kid, and he kind of puts it all together. So, you know, we were looking forward to playing them. Coach Ellis and I, we good friends. We coached an all-star game together a couple of years ago, and just great competition, and we were looking forward to it, you know, so that we could have a measure of what we would do in the playoffs, you know, if we perhaps face another team. And, you know, I just don't see as many teams as good as Fort Payne, you know, that we'll face in the playoffs. So,
right.
You know, that makes me feel like that we got a chance to make a pretty good run.
Absolutely. First half highlights of Anderson and Fort Payne coming up next here on the Bulldog Blitz. First half highlights here on the Bulldog Blitz, Anderson's game against Fort Payne. And Coach, talk about some of the things you wanted to see out of your guys early on.
Well, we wanted to play defense early and kind of get the set the tone, since the defense has been playing well. And right here you can see we was just maybe one gap off on a couple of plays, you know, not lining up correctly. Right here you see Fort Payne likes their true spread team, and they like to run a lot of slip screens. And you know, Mario Dobbins, who had a fantastic night, he was alert and up on that play, and you know, the drive stalled on them. We got them to attempt a field goal, and they missed it. And you know, we got pretty decent field position, but then we got in a situation where we started reverting back to some of the mistakes we made early in the season, you know, with running backs and the quarterback getting a lot of negative yardage on plays. And you know, right here we had a double coverage on a guy, and we let him slip in the zone and kind of gave it up. And you know, they got in good field position, and of course you see the little running back right here. You know, he was a great player. You know, he ran the ball pretty tough on us. You know, one of the best backs that we faced this year, and you know, he just made a play. No, they kicked off to us. We got back on our offense, and we just threw an ill-advised pass right here. Probably should have threw that pass out of bounds, but Tay Miller, he tried to get it all, and they ended up picking it off and scoring a touchdown on the play. So, that was the second touchdown that kind of put us in the hole. And of course, we got the ball again, and we made some pretty decent plays, but the offense stalled here again. You see one of the plays that Tay Miller turns the corner on him and makes a pretty good run right here. And we throw a slip screen to Chris Beard, who Chris has been playing well for us the last 5 games. Offensively and defensively, we kind of find him and get the ball to him. And, of course, right here, Tay Miller ran the zone read, and you can see he makes some great moves right here to keep the drive going. And of course, right here, we give him a QB read, and he busted up the middle and scored a touchdown. So, that was something positive for the offense at that point. We were back in the game, and we came back here and got back on defense, and we were pretty solid. We were taking on too many double teams because we had our linebackers were standing still. They were playing flat-footed, and they wasn't firing off the football like we typically do. And we were able to get them to punt the football, and we came back here and, Tate threw another pass that he probably should have threw out of bounds. We had a one defender read. He should have been reading a cornerback on the outside, and he went for it all again. And, of course, good teams. Fort Payne put together another drive, and they were able to punch it into the end zone and score on us again. So we went in at halftime down 20-6, and that's kind of tough against a pretty good team, but we knew we had 2 more quarters to play.
Absolutely, and your team has been a team that's done well adjusting in the second half.
Right.
What was kind of the message at halftime, knowing the way the game flowed? Because the scoreboard read 20-6, but you have yourself in position to score a couple touchdowns and also prevent them from scoring.
Well, the first message was to get them mentally focused because, I didn't want any of them to settle in on the fact that we beat Alexandria and we were in the playoffs, and I think we sort of adopted that mentality throughout the week, and basically I wanted to let them know that was coming back to haunt us, and that we needed to if we plan on doing anything in the playoffs, we needed to get it right immediately. And then the second thing was to fix the misalignments. They were giving us 2 formations. We knew double doubles, which was a normal spread formation, but they were giving us a power set, and they were giving us a double tight end set, and we were just lining up wrong. They were getting the 2 confused, and we didn't have gap integrity. So, it was the small plays they were putting together. It was, 6 yards here, 5 yards here, 4 yards, and that starts to add up, and they were able to sustain drives, and that hurt us the first half.
Absolutely. When you rewound the tape back on the Alexandria game, and then you also took the first half of this game, were you able to show clear teaching points of, hey, this is what we did it last week and it worked, just get aligned, and this week it'll do the same? Absolutely.
We played Alexandria, we had no misalignments. Everybody, we were that dialed in on what we were supposed to do, and, that just baffled me as a coach is how we could be so tuned in one game and come out the next game and you only getting 2 formations and we be misaligned. So, I felt like we were just not focused as we should have been, and that went back to the early part of the week. So, just had to give them a basic come to Jesus meeting. Hey, we need to get this thing straight.
Absolutely. Every coach has different philosophies, but down 20-6, you're still thinking, let's win the football game. I know that you're going into the playoffs, and some teams like to put their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, make sure nobody gets hurt, but all those little things, but trying to avoid the things that are out of the control over the most part of the game, but you're still trying out there going and win.
Well, unlike other coaches, I don't think that we're good enough to tank a game or tank a season. And by that, I mean, we can't go out and say that we're not going to do this or do that or play well against this team because we're not good enough to turn it on and turn it off. I think we are an average team that can be a great team if we play consistent all the time. And that just bothered me because we wasn't playing consistent like we had been the last 4 games. We decided as a unit that, we were going to take it easy because we were in the playoffs and the game really didn't matter. And I I had to correct that, ideology right there. Hey, we need to go out and win this game.
Absolutely. And in the second half, they actually outscore Fort Payne 20-7. You'll see the way they did that coming up next. You also see the band. We honored the football team on senior night. The band was also honored on senior night. Here's the performance from Friday night. We're back here on the Bulldog Blitz second half highlights. Coach, you're down 20-6 coming up halftime, but you're really able to start to put some things together in the second half.
Well, we came out with a different view. Basically, we got in on the board and we lined up correctly to the formations, and we just really started playing hard-nosed football. Right here, you can see we were in perfect position. Mario Dobbins gets an interception, takes it back for 6. So, that was the start of the defensive side of the football, And we're right back in the game. You're down 1 touchdown. We come back, and right here we gave up a few yards. Actually created a fumble there, but they recovered the ball back again. We kind of gave up a few more yardage because we didn't set the edge on the outside there. My outside linebacker went inside, and there again, we just blew that assignment. And against good teams, when you miss assignments like that, it can cost you. And of course, it did with us. Instead of them being up punting the football, Fort Payne was able to score a touchdown. So, now we're 2 touchdowns down again, and right there you can see Hakeem Ross, had that same play in the first half where he let him catch the football. In this particular play, he drove through the receiver and actually created an interception by Brashard Harris, who took it back for 6. Okay, that was an unbalanced set right there, and they were running that same power play that they ran in the first half, and we lined up correctly, slanted to the side, and we were able to create a fumble. You see Mario Dobbins again scoop it and score, so we're right back in the game again. And of course, you see us right here. We just basically stacking them up. The defense is swarming to the football. We kind of flying around, and right there you see us come up as Hakeem Ross and Brashard Harris come up, and we stuffed them, I think, on 4th down right here, and we came up and we forced a fumble right here and recovered it. So we're right back in the game. We got the football again. We go to the zone read right here with Tay Millen. He makes a great play. Reading the defense right here. And, of course, Jeremy Camp's right here. Stick his foot in the ground. We're just running the ball hard. We're moving the chains, and we come in right here. You got L.J. Hurd is moving the football. A lot of energy. We didn't quite punch it in right there, but we had good position right here. And you can see basically we got ourselves back in the game, but right at the end, good teams find ways to win. And, we scored, and the difference in the game was, we missed 2 PATs. Had we made those 2 extra points, and had we scored right there at the end when we went in the red zone, we could have easily won the game by a touchdown, or you could have won it by 1 point had you made your extra points.
Absolutely. You talked about Mario Dobbins and the performance of the defense. He had a pick 6. He also had a scoop and score fumble for a touchdown. That defense, to me, just seems to be playing better and better and better. And really in the second half of this game is when they really showed out.
Right. They showed the resilience that we've been trying to teach them to play with, the energy, just having gap integrity, being assignment sound, just doing the things that you need to do as a football team in order to be good. And, those were the mistakes that we were making in the first half. And we came out the second half, and we just completely dominated them in the second half. Even with the touchdown that they scored on, we had 2 busted assignments on that particular drive. And had we done what we should have done, they wouldn't have scored because they would have had to punt the football. But instead, we sustained the drives.
Absolutely. Talk about their offensive line and their running backs. We talked about Ford being one of the better backs that you guys have seen. And then it seems like the offensive line are big and they're really physical, and that's one of the more bigger physical offensive lines you'll see moving forward.
Right. Fort Payne offensive line is similar to Alexander's offensive line, extremely big, and they were technique sound. Whichever guy that they were supposed to be blocking on particular plays, they were going to get that guy. It was no missing. They were getting that in some form or fashion. And when you play a team that's that technique sound, it becomes, you got to win the individual battle.
Right.
And that was part of us telling our guys, you got to get in your gap. You got to win that battle, at least stalemate that offensive lineman, because if you don't, you're going to allow the offensive lineman to get up on the linebackers. And with that back that they had, as good as he was, and as shift as he was, it's just hard to stop him, And in the second half, we were able to do a lot of that and slow him down.
Absolutely. So that closes the book on the regular season for the Anniston Bulldogs. They now move forward into the Class 5A state playoffs, a huge game against Russellville on the road. Coming up in the first round, we will break that game down, coming up with Coach Bullock next on the Bulldog Blitz. Final segment here on the Bulldog Blitz. The Anniston Bulldogs now regular season is over. Now headed into the Class 5A state playoffs. Coach, 32 teams are left in Class 5A. You're one of them. A big game against Russellville coming up in the next round. Talk about them.
Well, Russellville is a great team. A lot of football tradition. And, of course, we're going up there. They got a nice football environment to play in. And we're just looking forward to going up there and giving them a challenge.
I know at this point, as we shoot today, you haven't seen a ton of film on them, but talk about some of the things that you know of their program and some of the things that they like to do each year and week to week.
Well, just past Russellville teams have always been, they're playoff oriented. They go into the season with the playoffs on their mind to make it, and of course, they always have a huge line like we faced before, and that was part of the reason why I like playing a variety of teams, because you, in some form or fashion, you get to see an example of a team that you may face in the playoffs. And, we're just looking forward to going up there. They got a great running back like we faced against Fort Payne. They have a great tight end, and one of their offensive tackles, the left tackle, is next level player. So, we're just looking forward to playing them. Over
the last, counting the Russellville game, over the last maybe 3 weeks, the combined records of the teams you've played is like 17-4 or 27-4. Really good teams to kind of close out the year and start with the playoffs. Talk about just what those teams, what those games, what those opponents mirror back to your team about the kind of team that your guys can have moving forward.
Well, all of those teams that we played, the games that we've won and the games that we've lost, we've had an opportunity to win those games. So what I try to tell my guys is that only lets you know actually how good you can be if you focus. But it goes back to my previous point to where I think that the ability and the talent level is there, but we're not good enough to where we can take plays or take time off.
Right.
We are at that stage to where we have to stay focused each and every play, each and every day, game by game, and then you'll see our results. Now, maybe next year or year after that, we may have that team where we can take a play off or maybe take a game off to rest people, but we're not at that stage yet. We're not good enough to do that. So, and when you play teams, good athletes should be able to see that
right.
If you lose to a Fort Payne team by 1 point, top 10 team ranked in 6A, hey, if we able to do that and we had opportunities to beat them, we must be pretty good. If
right.
you beat an Alexander team that's #1 in your region, top 10 team, undefeated, just a great team, and you're able to just totally dominate them for 4 quarters, we must be a pretty good team, but we got to put it together.
Absolutely. Talk about playoff preparation. Does that differ anyhow from regular season preparation, just the Monday through Thursday grind before Friday night?
Well, actually, with the players and as far as the schedule organization and what we do, there's no difference in that. The only thing I do differently in the playoffs is I get a little bit more detail-oriented, because during the season, even coaches tend to kind of maybe get a little bit lax throughout the season, and there are some things that I think could be the difference in the game, just a little bit of things that could be a difference in the game.
Right.
And I make sure that I stress to the coaches as well as the players that, we have to fine tune this. We have to get it, this machine down, everything be precision. And, we just work on the little small details.
Most of your region games were really close by, but your non-region games, you went to Hanley, which is a pretty long road trip. Last year, you went to Fort Payne, which is a pretty long road trip. Talk about handling the road trip when you're going a long distance like you are Friday night from here to Russellville.
Well, I think we play better on the road, and I think that we have a little better focus, when we play on the road. Now, for what reason, I don't know, but I just think we tend to, we get a little bit more, we draw together a little bit more when we go on the road, because basically you just got that one small unit and we going into an unfamiliar environment. So, when a group of players or people go into an unfamiliar environment, you got to band together, you got to stick together. And I think that helps us to focus. And I believe that's going to be our advantage against Russellville this week when we go in is, we got to focus in it, and we're going to have everybody together.
Absolutely. I think a lot of things that most fans and most people who watch high school football don't know is how much extra work goes into the playoffs for you guys as coaches. And this is something that you don't necessarily talk about, but I want people to understand just the kind of grind you go through, because you get to get the team ready Monday through Thursday. You play the game on Friday, and then you're at a mandatory meeting in Montgomery come Saturday.
Right, and then, of course, the coaches meet on Sunday, so you're looking at another 6 hours maybe, just meeting, trying to get everything prepared for the week, and, personnel-wise. And then in addition to that, you also got to get your itinerary together for travel and food and things like that. So it's a lot to go into it that, the public just, they have no clue as to what all you have to do other than go out on Friday night and just play the game at 7 o'clock.
Absolutely. Coach, best of luck this weekend. Friday night coming up. First round of Class 5A state playoffs. Go out and support the Anniston Bulldogs as they go over to Tiger Stadium to take on Russellville. We'll have all the highlights and break it all down right here coming up next week on the Bulldog Blitz.